Hi, I'm Emily.
And I'm Hayley.
After meeting online, we became international best friends who bonded over how hard it is to find success in the entertainment industry.
Join us and our celebrity co-authors as they help us write the book on how to make it.
And, more importantly, uncover what making it even means.
Hi, my name is Peppermint, and I wanted to be a Christmas tree ornament maker when I grew up.
Yes. Amazing. I love that.
Why? How? What?
Do explain.
Please.
Well, I mean, I think we all grew up, everybody hears, I mean, at least when I was a kid, the only options that, you know, when adults would be like, so what do you want to be when you grow up? And they would all ask you, they would give you the options.
Yes.
Do you want to be a police officer or a doctor? Which one? And I was never able. So I actually thought I had to do something like, I knew I could be more than just a doctor. There was a teacher, there was a fire person, you know, whatever. But those jobs, there's only like 5 or 6 jobs that they show you in like children's books.
Yes.
And I'm like, oh, well, I guess, do I have to be one of those? And I was like, well, I guess I won't. I don't know if I'm not one of those. I guess I'm nothing. And then I was probably like 10 or 12 or something like that. And my mom and I were making, my mom and I were making Christmas ornaments. And this was the first time that I was like, oh, we can make ornaments for the tree, or we can use these store-bought ones. And I was able to see, oh, well, these ones aren't that good, but the ones from the store, like, they're fancy. They've got diamonds and crystals. And I'm like, somebody had to make this. And then I was like, oh my gosh, there is a job. And there you go.
I love that so much. Now, has this obviously the dream died somewhere, but has your love of ornaments carried on, or did it stop with the career change?
You know what? I have not had a Christmas tree where I live, like in my house, since, I think I've only done it once, and I've done it twice. I've done it 3 times. But I've been in this house for over 20 years. Oh. And so I'm not a Miss Christmas gal.
Okay.
Nothing changes. As a matter of fact, and I hate to say this, but when people buy me cards, I open them, I take a picture with them, I text the person, thank you so much, got your card, and it doesn't even hit anything. It hits the trash. I'm like, oh, look, thank you.
I think it's so freeing that you've admitted that, because I'm the same, but I'd never dare say it, and you've made me like.
I'm sorry.
I am not.
And it's not. Yeah. I don't. It's not that I don't appreciate the sentiment and the thoughtfulness. I really do, but I also know I can't accumulate what other people are choosing for my house.
Right. Okay. I'm
because cards are different. Like Christmas cards are different to normal cards, I think, as well, because there's just hundreds of them.
There's so many of them, and they're all like gaudy, and I don't mind that. I like gaudy, but I'm like, where am I going to put these cards?
It's not the same as getting something really heartfelt, is it? It's like,
I have to tell you, I'm learning right now, Hayley, do you know how much it cost me to send you a card? And now I learned that.
Oh my God! See, I knew I was gonna mess it up.
Don't you worry, because I received this bad boy today.
Oh my God! Yes, your birthday card. And wait, show it again. Peppermint
I'm not dead.
See. Not dead.
Not dead yet.
But this is different to a Christmas card, Emily.
Okay.
This is different.
It is.
She just pulled it out of the trash. That's what happened.
It's just, yep.
She's like, yeah. This is different to a Christmas card. I don't even take a picture with it.
Oh my God.
Sorry, Emily.
That's okay. It's fine. I'm learning. Listen, I've learned a lot about the postal system since you and I became friends, and that's just good to know. It's good to know.
It's tricky, isn't it?
Wow. How fun. Well, listen, I have
Look
to
what you did, Peppermint. Look what you did.
I'm so sorry.
This is good. This is our last episode of this podcast.
It's canceled.
It's over.
It's all Peppermint's fault.
Well, you know what? But what an honor to have Peppermint be the one who.
Oh, absolutely. If it was going to be anyone.
Who buries the.
Yeah. So we move on to a section where we tell you 2 just random things that we found out about you on the internet. So far we haven't ruined anyone's life.
Gorgeous.
Mine's very, I think, very nice. I love your Instagram and how often you shout out your friends. I think it's so lovely because people will be like, oh, I'll tag tag me and whatever, but you will do full posts about your friends and their accomplishments, and I'm wondering what inspired that, and what makes you use it for such a force of good instead of just all about just your stuff. It's everybody's stuff.
I appreciate that. I don't know. It is like intentional for sure. Obviously, like all of us have people in our lives that we're proud of, or somebody does something that you think is really cool. But it's funny that you say that. To me, it comes naturally because I want everybody to know about like what's going on. And I do view it as something that's happening in my life.
Yeah.
Like not to me, but like in my life. If my friend gets a big whatever they get, or then I love that, and that's where I'm celebrating that, and I'm gonna go. And I would imagine I obviously share things that I do want people to know, and I also share things that I want to see more of, which I think a lot of us do. And so when it's something like that happening to my friend or something like that, a lot of these people happen to be a part of the queer community, or, maybe a minority group that we don't often see these types of opportunities, posts and announcements and things. And so that's really where that comes from. And yeah, it is, I didn't notice that everybody doesn't have that same thing. Sometimes I'll like find somebody who's interesting, and then I'll go to their page, like people that I know in real life that are like married. And then I'll go to either of their pages, and there's not even they are literally the only person on their page, not even their spouse. And I'm like, oh, I mean, I get it. Like you might want to keep your business private, but geez, or, and not to criticize it, but I'm blessed. At a time I was cursed, because 20 years ago, if you were an actor and you tried to record a song, people would laugh you out of the room. And if you were a singer trying to act, people would be like, I ain't going to see that movie. So these days, I think that's changed a lot because of social media. And so I used to be not ashamed, but really confused on how I was going to present myself to people, because some people know me as a drag artist. Some people know me as an entertainer. Some know me from activism. Some know me from singing live and writing my own music and things like that. And so for the longest time, I was always really sort of self-conscious about how to do that. And now I feel like now that I can, I'm going to put it all out there and like let everybody see. And it's also because I'm probably going to forget, that I did it. So I need a record of it.
It is very helpful. I mean, you've done so much in so many different areas of entertainment. It's like it would be, and what I also love is when you're mentioned in any of these areas, people get so genuinely excited. Like I think of the survival of the thickest, Trixie and Katya like doing the reaction to season 1, and you show up and they get so genuinely excited to see you. And
oh my God, I didn't see that.
Oh, really? It's so cute. And they're just like, oh my God, is that Peppermint? And I just feel like that's a thing that is also like given back to you, is like everybody just adores you. So that's
I definitely feel the love.
Oh, good. That's my fact.
It feels like because back in the day, like in the MySpace days of the social media or whatever, it felt like it was more like that, in that it was like a celebration of the people around you, even having like that top 8.
Yeah.
Do you know what I
Yeah,
mean?
very much.
Yeah, and then it's kind of like moved away from that, and your socials always feel like a throwback to celebrating people.
Yeah.
And it's lovely.
I love it. Well, that's what it is.
My interesting fact off the internet is that you were a cheerleader.
Yeah, I was. I was captain of the cheerleader. I was a cheerleader for years.
That's my next
but I was
bit.
also
Not
captain.
only.
Yeah. Okay. I'm sorry.
No, it's fine. Not only
Yeah.
a cheerleader. That feels like it would have been like, I don't know. We don't do cheerleading over here in the same way as you guys do, but it feels like it's a tough environment.
It can be. I mean, I was not in competitive cheerleading, that to be fair. And so it's like those are definitely two different. I mean, any high school like sport versus like state levels, you know, or like which is like pre-college, and then there's college. Those are all like, you know, high stakes situations. You know, we were good, we were cute, we were good, but we were never competing. And most of the competition, I mean, I think we would have done better today, but I went to a predominantly Black high school, and so our cheer squad reflected most of the student body, and so it was mostly a Black, you know, Black girls on the thing, and they, so we would do like, we would like step, you know, like it was like rhythmic. It felt like R&B, sort of like, you know, you know, a lot of hand clapping and stuff like that, a lot of booty shaking, and not as much like, you know, basket tosses and stunts, like putting people in the, you know, like you see cheerleaders like holding each other up. Yeah. We did those, but we did like, you know, we were not trying to like fool anybody into thinking they were at Cirque du Soleil. You know what I mean? Like, we're cheerleaders. We're going to cheer on the team, lead you in a clap. Betsy's going to do a cartwheel, and we're done. You know what I mean?
You knew your limit.
What else does it need?
Yeah, I mean, not more than these days. You never, honey. If you get on YouTube and go down the cheerleading, the competition cheerleading rabbit hole, it is intense. They even made a Netflix show about it. There was some scandal on the show, so that was tough. But it's intense, you know.
And I was just talking to somebody about this. It's like even the professional NFL cheerleaders, it's like, you know, obviously like athlete sports, they get paid next to nothing. But it's like the dream of being the NFL
on the field with them,
like eclipses the fact that they're making like not a livable wage. So
which is wild, because they're cheering on some of the highest paid people in sports.
Yeah.
And these girls are basically just on it might as well be like a community community dance troupe. Yeah. You know, like, you know, local from the community center. I'm not saying that that's their level of talent and skill. No, but it's how they're treated. Yeah. You know, like for those things you don't expect to get paid. You're like, well, and they got to buy and they have to buy their uniforms.
No.
They have to buy their uniforms. Yeah, I don't know about every cheer every team. But the last I looked into that, which was 20 years ago, the cheerleaders were they had to buy their uniforms, which we did too. So that wasn't that wild to me, but I was like, God, they can't buy them a matching uniform. I hope you get to keep your thing. We paid for ours, and I did not get to keep my uniform. Anyway, don't take me down memory lane.
Devastating. Well, I've only just discovered that you can have a professional cheerleader. It's just never occurred to me.
Well, yeah, you guys are all.
We don't have that in the football.
Your football is soccer. It's all.
We go
backwards.
and have a pint and have a pie at half time. We don't watch the cheerleaders. Well, I think it would be loads better if we did.
I do too, and it is also to keep I mean, it's obvious why they exist, but I do think it helps in keeping the audience engaged, because I think the people who attend in American spectator sports, it oftentimes can become about like the whole family going. And the little kids, the little girl might not want to watch this thing.
Yeah.
She might, but like everybody, there's a good chance that somebody in the family is gonna be like, can we please go home? Oh, look at those dancers, you know.
Yeah, that would have been me.
Have you taken anything that you learned from that time into your current career? Like from the cheerleading days?
Yeah, I think I had a little bit of preparation and understanding about you know, protective undergarments for sure. That it's not just like panties under the skirt. It's like bloomers and tights that are obviously skin toned. You know, so it looks like you're just wearing a skirt, but we were out there in like the coldest weather and we were totally fine because we had all these undergarments. So that is good. I still use that I still like call them bloomers and people are like, what? I'm like, bitch, get with the no. And then a rudimentary level knowledge of stunts, you know, and like how to support people or how people should move when they're jumping or doing lifting someone up, like easier ways to jump and lift, essentially. And I mean, and some of that came in handy when I was on RuPaul's Drag Race, you know.
Well, that leads me pretty well into what I wanted to ask you, which is about kind of stress levels, because you've done so many different things in so many different areas of entertainment. And I'm wondering your opinion. I'm going to try and say this eloquently because I feel like it's going to come out as word salad. I'm wondering if this level of stress for new projects and new things that you do, new ventures that you do, ever seems more manageable, or if every new thing that you do is like the same amount of a learning curve. Or do you think like, well, I've accomplished this, so therefore this will be easier? Or is it always like, does that make sense? Am I making sense?
Yeah, the question makes sense. I think, you know, certainly my drag career and then also all of the experiences that I've had have prepared me to do whatever I'm going to do for the most part. I mean, listen, if it was like, come do this fly fishing thing or like figure out, we have to go to space and you have to drive the rocket. I don't know that my career would have prepared me for any of that. But I don't often get stage fright in the same way that people do. I get a little like nervous or like, you know, like very analytical about a lot of the things that I do. But I'd say for the most part, yeah, a lot of the things that I do, if it's in the realm of stuff that I've done before, definitely I feel prepared for it. And I haven't made any major changes with anything, but like, you know, the first time I did a speech in public, you know, I might have been a little more nervous, but like, since I oftentimes talk on the microphone, I mean, I went to acting school, and so singing and dancing in front of people felt natural to me by the time I decided to sing live in drag.
Right.
And then singing live in drag, you have to get on the microphone and tell jokes and keep people entertained. And so by the time I had to go make a speech, I felt like I was prepared for that. So yes, the answer is yes.
Okay. Yeah, I'm just wondering because I feel like a lot of times people will be like, but you've done this, you can handle that. And I'm like, do those things equate to each other, or am I supposed to have more confidence because I did the other thing and that's supposed to like in my mind, because you've done Broadway, I'm like, does that just like, are you automatically just like, I have no more fear of being on stage, or is it like a repetitive thing?
I never really had fear of being on stage. It's kind of the reverse.
Right, you didn't have that
because
already.
people were like, can somebody put this bitch on a stage because she keeps busting in here singing. So like, you know, I that's where I felt
Right.
I have always felt the most comfortable. So going onto a stage, I think feels that's the outlet to do where I can place the energy that I'm already carrying. You know, I think it's the stakes for me are not so much about the type of job or the specific style of venue. It's more what are the like who's coming to see, like, oh my gosh, is like, you know, the queen here or whoever. Like if somebody's in the audience, I'm like, oh, I better make sure I have this memorized. Or if like they're like, there's an agent in here who is like the agent of agents, and they want to put you in this movie with J-Lo. Well, maybe not that. With somebody. And, you know, you better have your song perfect. Then suddenly I'm like, oh my God, you know, like making sure. But just doing the job is not yet, hasn't become like nerve-wracking.
I don't think it suddenly would if you're like, if it already wasn't. I don't think it goes like, no, yeah.
So when everybody around you was saying, get this bitch on the stage, and then you finally got on the stage, what was your favorite like show that you were in, like from youth theatre, or maybe one of your first shows? I'm fascinated about the journey.
I did a lot of, I mean, you know, from younger, I did, you know, lots of like the school plays and chorus and choir and things like that. And I was in the band and orchestra and all those things. But I felt like an actor when my mom got me into community theater. And so I was, you know, 8, 9, 10, something around that. And one of the first ones that I did, which I really felt very fierce. I guess I always feel pretty fierce, but I felt very, very, very fierce and fancy when I got cast as the spider, the dancing spider in Babes in Toyland.
Oh yeah.
And so like they, you know, the kid, they got, it's basically like Wizard of Oz. Like they're always, the kids have to go somewhere and they're like scared to walk through the forest. Right. Like that's every show. And so I was the spider that lived in the forest and came out, and I was like doing the most fabulous dance, and they were scared. It's so funny that like that was my weapon, like a dance, like woo, woo, and they're like ah, that's just so funny. Because I mean, if they'd like made my face ugly with some stuff and then I could see people running and screaming, but. You know, I literally came out like the, you know.
You're just a cute, sassy little spider. How old were you?
I was probably like 9 or 10. Aww. And so I remember that fondly. It was also kind of wild because there was I won't say her name, but there was I don't even know what her job was. But at community theater, there's a bunch of these ladies that are running around, and I guess all the adults are probably, well, the kids weren't getting paid, so actually no, we did get paid. Now that I think of it, we got paid. That's why I thought I was a professional actor. But the adults probably didn't get paid, at least the ones that, I'm sure they used a lot of volunteers, and they were always parents of the kids in the show. And there was this, you know, I don't remember her, I actually don't fully remember her name, but let's just say if this play was in 2020, her name probably would have been Karen. Let's just say.
No.
And so this bitch, I guess I don't even know that she was in charge of me. She was acting like it. This bitch was I wore white socks which is so wild because now I don't ever wear white socks, but I wore white socks. And I was the spider all dressed in black. So, but you could see my white, it looked like Michael Jackson's socks. And it was like a dress rehearsal. And she was like, oh, my son who just got out of football practice has some socks. And I was like, what? And she was like, yeah, let me go get him. I was like, bitch, I'm not wearing your nasty son's sweaty ass socks on my feet. I don't want them.
Athletes.
And I was like, I'm not wearing. She was chasing me around that place, trying to force me to wear these socks. And I never did, but I was like, this is disgusting. Girl, come on, girl. I don't want to wear someone else's dirty socks. The audience will be fine. It's Babes in Toyland and I'm a dancing spider.
Someone's going to stand up and go, I don't think that's actually
I don't think that's a real spider. Look at this sock.
Wear white socks.
So yeah, so that was it was adventures, but yeah, that was the earliest sort of play that I'd done. And then now that we talk about it, it is really funny because, like I said, to this day, if I'm buying socks, I think I have one pair of white socks Every single pair of socks I have is black. And my first and only time on Broadway was a sort of fantastical musical. And they had to travel, wait for it, through the woods. And guess where my character lived? In the woods.
How funny.
Oh my
How
God.
Funny.
I need to see a picture.
I can't believe she was making you wear some stinky gross socks. What a delightful.
Isn't that like,
That's
I mean,
weird.
this
That's
was the
child abuse.
80s or 90s. It was the 80s, so fine. But like, good grief.
I mean, the athlete's foot still existed in the 80s.
It did? That's what I'm saying.
Like,
And when you think of a teenage football player, boy, you know, socks.
Toe fungus.
What do you think? Athlete's foot. Some foot fungus. I don't want your nasty sock. Anyway.
No.
Let's move on because I'm getting...
Yes, it's making me... I've got a little bit sick in my throat. Just thinking about it.
It's gross.
But staying with like grown-ups in the like as you're moving through the field, like do you have anybody who you would consider a mentor, like in your career? Except the woman with the socks.
Not Karen.
Hello. She definitely wasn't. You know, there's in nightlife, I think one of my mentors was a fabulous artist, creative by the name of Michael T. Y'all probably don't know, but you should research Michael T. Michael T. Was one of the producers of a really wonderful party called the Mother Party. And it was kind of a very like sort of like pansexual, like any gender, any race, any sexuality was accepted. Which, you know, I'm sure people are like, oh my God, that's so woke. But like back then, there really weren't a lot of places like that.
Right.
And so it was a nightlife event. And so Michael hired me on for that. And Michael has such a love and appreciation for like the history of New York City and nightlife that I just learned so much from Michael, which I brought into all the other gigs that I do to this day. In terms of like, there is like work relationships with people that you have when you work in nightlife, etiquette and working in a club. Like, you know, if you're in a club, a bar club, and you do not go up to a drag entertainer and ask them for a free drink ticket. Don't do it. A drink ticket is for us to offer you if we so feel inclined or inspired. Just telling everybody. Yeah. Michael T. Yeah.
I'm Googling Michael T.
Yeah.
And there's a movie. There's a
mother movie. Yeah, I'm in that.
Oh.
It's a documentary.
Cool.
Which actually just got sort of like officially released on YouTube. Like I think they were going to distribute it, and now it's just like it's legit.
That's what I'm
20 years later.
Yeah,
I mean, they made it. Yeah.
Yes. Oh my God.
So in terms of Michael T being your mentor, how has that kind of taken you through to what you currently do? Like, what's been the journey?
I didn't have a sort of like typical journey or upbringing when a lot of people, as I think a lot of people might expect. I mean, a lot of us hear about like that person that takes them under the wing and is there from the day they're born until the day they get married or die. And so I don't really have anybody like that. Of course, I have long-standing relationships and friends, but we all learn from each other. And I would say that most of the people that have inspired me in that way have been like my sort of peers. Not that they can't be a mentor, but we've all kind of learned at the same time. You know what I mean? Like, oh girl, no, don't do that one. You know, like that. So yeah, there hasn't really been anybody that I would say, and this again comes back to like, I work in the world of Broadway, which is very different than in many ways from like drag nightlife. They're related obviously because they're both entertainment. I do a lot of community activism, and I'm certainly not the first person entertainer or anything to do any of that. But a lot of the people that I encounter in my like actual everyday circles who like work in nightlife or drag entertainers are not really doing like charity events and advocacy to a level that they become pretty much known for being that. Yeah. And So I think I'm in so many different areas that I'd have to like know another me to know someone who could help me in all those areas. Does that make sense?
Yeah. There's not many people with a career like yours, is there?
Yeah.
They're out there, I'm sure, you know. Haven't met them yet.
Listen, I won't bring up the socks again after this, but in the same vein of your spider story, maybe when you were a little bit older, has there been a time in your career, a story where you're doing something that is entertainment focused, career focused, you're on your way, you're learning, you're moving up, you're like, this is ridiculous. What am I doing? You know, is this worth, you know, continuing? It can be something really small or really big, but just any time where you're looking around and you're like, this is kind of crazy. Like, what the heck is this business?
Yeah, there definitely have been. I've been in plenty of situations where, like, especially not extremely recently and not that frequently, thank goodness, but every once in a while I'll do a gig where there just hasn't really have been great communication by the people organizing it or whatever. And so you get there and you're like, this is where I'm supposed to get ready or like whatever.
Yeah.
And so that has happened, but I've become pretty attuned to advocating for myself and just saying, listen, if you don't have a proper dressing room like you said you would, then I can't get dressed. That's what a dressing room is for. And so, you know, I mean, I did have now you get me talking. I did have a gig
That's what this is for.
with one of my I did have a gig with one of my girlfriends, and it was actually a decently paid gig. And they didn't you have to understand, like, you know, as a freelancer, or for the listeners to understand, you know, we don't just show up to your wedding. Like, there has to be a huge conversation about that beforehand. Like, what will it take? What will happen? So I like to tell people planning for a drag show or an event to that scale is kind of like planning a wedding.
Yeah.
Organizing people, figuring out the schedules, like all that stuff. But also making sure that they have what they need. And you know how every bride has a bridal suite, usually, where they can go and like put on their veil. That's basically what happens in that room. And like cry with their parents. You kind of need that for drag entertainers too.
Yeah.
And so I should tell my agent to like start telling people that. Anyway, and so I did a gig with a girl. We're in some kind of place where it was like a restaurant, and the party, the group that was celebrating, I guess, rented out the whole restaurant, and it was more than one level and everything. And I was like, oh, where can we go get dressed? You know, because like most of them, like my makeup is done, but I'm not going to like sit around in like a sequin gown traveling. And so when we got there, they were like, oh, you can use the bathroom. And the only bathroom that was available for us to use, was the men's room, which is fine. We blocked it off. So like, as long as we were alone, but it was, some men had used it. And we had to change our clothes more than once. There was not a single surface in that bathroom, but a toilet and a few urinals. They were the old school urinals that were like floor length. I don't know if that makes any sense to you.
Yeah.
Okay. And we had to hang our gowns from the urinal.
Oh no.
And I'll tell you, when I tell you, my dress went in the toilet. And it was like wet, and I was like, oh my God. And I was like, this is disgusting. I'm gonna throw up. But I had to put it on because and I was like, oh my God, I'm gonna put on this dress. I don't know if it was like, I'm sure they flushed. I mean, I wouldn't have gone in the room if I didn't like, even if they hadn't flushed before I put my dress on, I'm gonna flush. So it was flushed, but it had been used.
Yeah, no.
And you don't want to come out of the bathroom wet.
No.
That's not your own wetness.
That's the worst way.
So I was like, yeah. So there's that, and then there was something similar. Well, I was much younger, and we were. I mean, that kind of takes that kind of almost takes the cake.
Takes
But
the
things like
urinal
that have
cake.
happened. Yeah. And it was, there was a urinal cake in the urinal. So
Taylor,
like
it's
that,
great
it's,
fun.
it takes the cake, the urinal cake.
It takes
You're
the
right.
urinal cake.
It did. It took the urinal cake, honey.
Wow.
Woo.
I'm going to insert a laugh track after that. Sorry, go on with your other story, please.
The other one was I was doing a movie, and it was probably the first like feature length film that I was ever in. It was I was a teenager just out of college. I had been working at the nightclub, and I don't even remember. I must have auditioned for it because I was also an actor and trying to be an actor and had gone to acting school and everything. And I auditioned for this movie. It was a B movie, which is basically would have been like a straight to YouTube or whatever. Movie. It was kind of a horror movie. It was bizarre. And it was in a series of bizarre movies. That's all I'll say. But and the production company is well known, and certainly was well known for that kind of thing. They had some cult classics. Like, and so like doing it, being in this film is certainly the kind of thing that even the average person who's not an actor will be like, it was so cool. I got to be in these people's film. And so that's where my mind was. And I was totally fine with everything. I went to the club at Saturday night, worked until 4:00 in the morning, didn't have a ride to the place that was 2 or 3 hours away, upstate New York. And they were going to be filming. I don't know where they're going to film, like some kind of place. And it was like 2 or 3 hours away. So then I asked this gay in the club, hey, gay, do you want to come with me to a movie? I'm going to film a movie. You can be in it too. And he's like, yeah, we're both like 20. And the scene is a sort of like the McDonald's of plastic surgery. So there's a monster in the movie, but the scene is about a bunch of people who are just like obsessed with plastic surgery, and everybody's just getting things done.
Right.
So of course they're gonna have the trans girl there, me, and this was before I came out to everyone as trans, but like there's no way you wouldn't know. And the director, it's terrible, honestly. The director's like, okay, after waiting around for like 7 hours, the director's like, okay, come on in. We're going to shoot you. You get on the table. He's like, we're going to have a doctor come over and examine you. And I was like, what do you mean? And so this little man comes out, like small person, climbs up on the table, standing next to me while I'm sitting. Our eyes are face to face. And they're like, then it turned into Fame. I don't know if you saw that movie. There's a scene in Fame.
Yeah.
Where the photographer is talking to Coco, and he's like, oh, you're doing great. You're doing great. And you already know what comes next. And that kind of a scene. And so the director's like, open your blouse. And I'm like, what? And I was like, and suddenly I was like, and people were like looking. And he was like, could you open your blouse, please? And I was like, oh my God. And he was like, he said it so matter of fact, like, that's your job to open your blouse. But that's not why I got hired. And so I did, because I felt hopeless and alone. I barely knew the gay that drove me up. And I was like, I don't know what to do. I've agreed to be in this movie. I'm not getting paid. And he wants me to open up my blouse, and everyone's looking at me like, just do it. And I felt so humiliated. And so after that, I'm like, I try to be real. Like I'm always in a great mood, but if I feel like you're doing me wrong and you're doing something like that, I'm going to tear it down. And I didn't speak up for myself that day. And I said, I will never not speak up for myself again. Because I'm ashamed of that. I'm not ashamed to be showing my thing, but I'm ashamed that I wasn't able to defend myself in that situation. And I was so young, and I didn't know what to do. And there wasn't anybody to advocate for me. There was no one else that said, look, she's obviously uncomfortable. hello. And so I had none of that protection. And so that was a long story to tee up. When I was asked to do a Christmas movie with a particular company that has done other shows that many girls like me have been on, and they told us we're going to have this and A and B and X, Y, and Z. And I was like, okay, when I get there better be this and this and A and B and X, Y, and Z. And when I got there, they had like R. And I was like, oh no. And we were getting paid, but this was also a professional booking that was covered by the union.
Mm-hmm.
And the union rep was not there. Usually there's a person there from the union to be like, oh, no, that you can't have them. They're going to get electrocuted. You can't do that. And there was nobody there. And I was like, well, where's the union rep? Yeah. And I became that bitch on the set. And they did not like that. And they called my manager. And this was only like 3 years ago. So I had already been on Broadway. I've already been in film and TV. And they were like, are you sure Peppermint's serious about being an actor? And I was like, oh God.
That's so common.
It's like, oh yeah, I'm not serious because I'm asking you. I agreed to it because you said you'd have A, B, and C, and you don't have any of those things. And you were settling for R. Yeah. And so, or like whatever, something that's like not even close to it. Accommodations, meals. We didn't have our own, they were like not really providing. We were using a lot of our own materials, like our own clothing and hair, which is not what they said. We did not agree to that, but you always bring an extra suitcase just in case. Oh, we're going to shoot a wedding scene, but we don't have a wedding dress. Can we use yours? They're supposed to pay you for that. What if it gets dirty? What if it gets ripped?
Yeah.
So I spoke out like that, and they called, and I've never spoken to them again since.
Oh, man.
Sorry to take it so serious, y'all.
No, not at all. I was just like that is why intimacy coordinators exist. That situation, and that's what I do, Peppermint.
I love that.
That is my job.
We need more of you because I know when I had another opportunity to do another show, and there was an intimacy coordinator, and I've done film and TV like for years before, years and years ago, and then so I did one a few years ago during the pandemic, and they're like, here's our intimacy coordinator. I was like, they're the what? I'd never heard of it. And then we did another job where they were like, oh, we need an intimacy coordinator. And I was like, okay, well, get one. And they were like, we have to call this lady who she'll call and see if she has any friends that are available. And I'm like, what? There's only like 5 or 6 things. Do you know what I mean?
There's still not that many people qualified, though. That SAG-AFTRA now have a registry, like we've got one in this country as well, of people who are qualified.
Okay, thank goodness. We need it. We need it so much.
It made me really sad, like the lack of agency you had in that first situation, because like that just wouldn't happen to you now because you've got that agency, haven't you? But not everybody does, in at different parts of your life, and being in that kind of situation, it ignores the power of human psychology, and because you think as a human you won't allow that, because like you in that car before you got there probably thought
I was not thinking about that, and I did not think I was going to get taken advantage of, and somebody was like, somebody's going to take advantage of you. I'd be like, yeah, right. But then when you're in that situation,
that's it. It's the power of human psychology. It's the power in the room. Like, you don't want to say no to a director, you don't want to say no to a producer, and the most importantly, I think it's the power of time constraints. Hurry up, come on, we need to get this shot.
Come on, we're waiting.
And it's highly problematic, those 3 things together. Like, those people probably weren't thinking about it in a dodgy way, but you've taken that away and it'll never leave you.
Ever. And not to mention, this shouldn't necessarily matter, but like if you are any type of minority, a woman or femme, a queer person, a person of color, chances are the people barking these orders at you are either from either the director or the camera department, who are traditionally like middle-aged white men who are straight and a lot of times very conservative. And so like the way that they would understand how this could be harmful, or like it almost as that they have zero capacity to think outside of, their own. I'm not saying white men don't. I'm saying a lot of these guys in this industry, as you know, are just like, they all know each other and they will have each other's backs. But when it comes to like, bring on the drag queen or the one, they just cart you on because you're like a token, which means you are alone on that set,
Yeah. There was this study, and God, I'm going to be a complete nerd now, but there was this study in 2018 of I think it was like the performers membership of SAG, and it was something like 80% of their membership of all gender, it was like the same across genders, had experienced some kind of vulnerable, horrible situation on set where they hadn't felt comfortable or safe. Isn't that awful?
Isn't that like so predatory? I mean, obviously it happens everywhere. Stories that I've heard from people that have shared, not in the entertainment industry, but like, at like a doctor's office, which is like, so scary. Like the last place you'd want anything like that to happen. It doesn't seem as institutionalized. I mean, it is, but it doesn't seem like it's a part of the job. That's the part that's so weird to me, or like, the blurry line of it is like, suddenly I'm here to do a job and to do this thing in front of this camera, and suddenly my blouse is open. So is that a part of the job? Like, then it's like, do I have to do this? Like, it's so wild. So yeah, thank you for mentioning that.
No, yeah, it's a combination, I think, of yes and. So when actors are trained, it's yes and, like it's that improvisation rule.
Yeah.
It's that, and it's also just again all the horrible power dynamics of it all. All of that combined, it's just we're asking actors to be open to the point where it becomes vulnerable. And I think that's what we're always pushing against, openness without vulnerability. And I think you put up that wall for yourself, Peppermint, now.
I did. Black socks and all.
Absolutely. Absolutely. It all started with the socks.
It's all coming back to the socks.
Hey, if you were going to define making it, what would it be for you? Like, what would you say making it was?
I'm aware of what the sort of societal thing is, like, oh, become a doctor and you've made it. And, all doctors are rich, and knowing now that that's not even the case or true. I really didn't totally know what it meant to make it for a while. And maybe that's served me very well, because again, it took me so long to figure out, like, to come to understand, to make my way to understanding what I wanted to do for a living anyway.
Yeah.
Now I know if I'm going to do something, what I want to get paid for. I know the value. I know what all those things. But even up until, this is that weird thing. As a performer, I would perform anywhere that I wanted. I started off literally just performing for my friends and family for free in the living room at the holiday. So the notion of getting paid to perform was not something that ever occurred to me. And so when I went to go do my first drag gig, I mean, some of the first drag shows I ever saw were like competition shows, and the girls would win money, but that wasn't payment. That was like a prize.
Yeah.
So you had to assume that you were just going to go and do it for free.
Right.
And then when I was working in drag in the club here in New York City, I remember I used to get dressed, be fabulous, and go to the door, wait in line, pay my ticket, and go in. I had this great idea that I would go to the manager or whoever and say, listen, I'm paying to come in here. I should not be paying to come in here. Let me come for free. I should have said, pay me to come. That's the thing. But I was just assuming, well, I love doing this.
Yeah.
So like, just as long as I'm not losing money, I'm good. That's where my mind was, and oftentimes is. And so it kind of goes to what you were saying, both of the yes and, but then also I have a passion for doing this. And so it's very easy for me to end up doing it for free because I love doing it. Performing, drag, acting, singing, dancing, those things. I think that I sort of developed this notion that like, I'm going to be sort of a misfit for the rest of my life because I'm not a doctor. I'm not a lawyer. I'm not good at math. All the things that seem to be in so much emphasis growing up and going through school were not my thing. And all the things that I was great at, you didn't get graded for, like cheerleading. Yeah. They didn't give us a grade. So I moved through the age of 18, 19, or at least 16, 17, 18, not having any idea on how I would earn a living for the rest of my life. And all I knew were the things that I loved to do. And I was like, well, if I could get paid to sing, I would. Not realizing that people could get paid to sing. And so it wasn't until much later. When I got to New York, I started working. I went to school during the day, acting school during the day, and I worked in a drag bar at night. We had to do a monologue about the greatest thing in our life. And I did my monologue about drag and about nightlife and how it's so wonderful and how I love all these things. Then I started getting paid to do it. And once I started getting paid to do drag, I was like, I made it. This is great.
Yeah.
You know? And so that is at the moment that when I was like 19, that I thought, oh, I could die today. I made it. I did it. I'm satisfied. And I never lost that feeling. So everything I do to these days, like currently, obviously, I'm not going to go and do something for free, just for whatever. But I still try to connect with it in the same way, like how excited about it I am or passionate about it. I don't have a goal of like getting 1 million followers or being this or that or it would be nice to get recognition for the work that I do. And I want to be challenged in the future work that I do, primarily in acting, which is where most of my attention is right now. I want to be challenged. I want to be given an opportunity to really pour it out instead of what happened to me on that examining table where they were like, this vulnerability, this openness without vulnerability. I want to be able to have all those things and like work on something. So I'd like to be challenged, but to me, it doesn't matter if it's like some indie film that only 2 people are going to see, or if it's something larger. And so I feel like I've already made it.
I love that.
That was a long way of saying if you love what you do, then you're not working or something like that.
I totally agree. Well, keeping that in mind, if you had to choose a chapter title that sums up your career so far, what would it be?
Black Socks, Spiderwebs, and Candy Canes. That's the chapter, first chapter.
That.
I love it. Oh man. Yes, I was like, is there gonna be anything about Christmas ornaments? But that is perfect.
Yeah, that was just
candy cane.
Yeah. Candy cane. Yeah.
Oh Peppermint is my favorite flavor. And I still am fascinated by Christmas ornaments, but I figured out what it is or was. I was searching for a tangible, I needed to connect the idea in my mind that there's a tangible creativity that I have that can be utilized in the future. And so that's what the Christmas ornaments allowed me to do. And that, which turned into singing and dancing and acting and drag and things like that. And then also I won't say obsessed. I'm not obsessed, but I'm fascinated. And I certainly was fascinated by anything miniature.
Yes.
If it looked accurate and miniature, I love it.
Amazing.
I'm right there. I love miniatures because it makes life seem so simple and like manageable.
Yeah,
I
love
it does. Them on Instagram, like people recreate sets, and I'm just like, can I live?
It's like I watch it. I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm fascinated by that. And I guess maybe that's the lure or the allure of a dollhouse. But to me, the dollhouses always look like some plastic thing. Like nothing ever looks real. Like no, the window should not be a sticker that you know what I mean? And so, if it's a little sink, the handle should move. Yeah. Water shouldn't come out of it, but like the handle should move, or there should be something in the little oven, like a rack.
Admire, how long it must have taken that person to make that thing. And I'm like, I just don't have that. For them, I just like looking at them. Amazing.
Agreed.
This has been so fun. I don't know if you've noticed, but the whole time I've been sitting like this while you're talking. This was like something I was so excited about, and I'm so grateful that we got to talk to you.
It's been incredible. Thank you.
Yeah.
Me too. I enjoyed this. It's such an easy conversation.
Of course.